The White House just held a disastrous press conference following Donald Trump making social media posts seeming to say that he was trying to reach some agreement with Governor Walz in Minnesota. And then Governor Walz posted on his social media that he had productive calls with Donald Trump about removing some of the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo from Minnesota. But then Karoline Leavitt held this disastrous press conference, and I'll just show you what went down. Karoline Leavitt started attacking the Democratic leaders. She goes, the Democrat leaders of Minnesota, like Governor Walz and Mayor Fry, they are the reason that Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretti were murdered. Here, just listen here, play this clip.
Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state.
Then Karoline Leavitt said, at the end of the day, while nobody at the White House wants to see people getting murdered, this tragedy occurred because of the hostile resistance of Democratic leaders, she said. Here, play this clip.
Yeah. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members.
In other words, the White House is ratcheting things up and continuing to defame Alex Pretti, Renee Nicole Good, the others who they've murdered and sent to concentration camps. More from Karoline Leavitt right here, saying that she has confidence in Kristi Noem. Let's play this clip.
To your first question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question, I would point.
And then Karoline Leavitt says that if you're a gun owner, you know that if you go to a protest with your gun and you're confronted by law enforcement, you're going to raise the assumption of risk that you should be killed. Well, that's what you think of the Second Amendment. Let's be very clear. Alex Jeffrey Pretti had a legal permit to conceal carry. Frankly, I've never heard any politicians talk about how much they hate the Second Amendment the way we've heard from Donald Trump and these phony MAGA Republicans who have pretend that they care about the Second Amendment all of these years. Just another MAGA farce just to prop up an authoritarian. Here, play this clip.
Thank you, Caroline. FBI Director Kash Patel said in a Sunday interview, quote, "You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest." Does the president believe the Second Amendment rights remain in effect even when protesting?
The president supports the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens. Absolutely. There has been no greater supporter or defender of the right to bear arms than President Donald J. Trump. So while Americans have a constitutional right to bear arms, Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede lawful immigration enforcement operations. And any gun owner knows that when you are carrying a weapon, when you are bearing arms and you are confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. And again, that's unfortunately what took place on Saturday.
Then a reporter asked Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump posted that this was a cover-up and a fraud taking place in Minneapolis. What's the cover-up? What does that mean, Karoline? And here's what she says. Play this clip.
I'll take a couple more. Go ahead.
Okay, so this weekend the president posted that this is a cover-up of the fraud in the state of Minnesota. He also posted Minnesota is a cover-up. These both happened after the shooting. So given that these came after the shooting, what is the this here? What is the cover-up he's alleging?
Yes, it's a good question. I've spoken with the president about this at length. What the president is referring to is the fact that you have Governor Walz and, again, the mayor, who have been encouraging these left-wing agitators to come out and to harass and to dox and to threaten ICE and to make this conversation about and smear lies about federal law enforcement who, again, are just trying to do their jobs in an attempt to distract from the widespread massive fraud that has taken place in their state. Billions and billions of dollars has been stolen from law-abiding taxpayers in Minnesota, and the administration continues to be very focused on getting to the bottom of it, especially, and the president raised a good question over the weekend with respect to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who now has a net worth within the millions. And one must ask themselves, why and how is that possible? Is she connected to the fraud rings that we have seen taking place within her state and her own district? It's a question the American people are raising, and the president believes it's one worth answering.
So more defamation by Karoline Leavitt during this disastrous press conference. And then Karoline Leavitt is asked if Donald Trump remains confident in Kristi Noem again. Here's what she says. Play this clip.
Jake.
Caroline, a couple quick questions. First, does the president remain fully confident in Kristi Noem's ability to lead the DHS?
Yes.
And then just secondly, just on that Wall Street Journal reporting that we saw yesterday.
Then a reporter asked Karoline Leavitt if Stephen Miller will be issuing an apology to the family of Alex Pretti for calling him an assassin and a domestic terrorist. And she goes, no, the incident remains fluid. It's under investigation. We all saw what happened, Karoline Leavitt, on video. We all saw what took place. You defaming Alex Pretti and calling him a domestic terrorist and saying he was showing up to massacre people is the height of just the most despicable and horrific way to defame someone who you just murdered, who the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo murdered. Here, play this clip.
Is top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Pretti for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the President goes for the parents of angel families and parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country.
Now, look, this is super important. If you used Medicare.gov to get Medicare Advantage plan information, you may want to double check your plan. The provider directory had inaccurate information on it, and it's possible you signed up for a plan that doesn't actually cover your existing doctors. Listen, folks, it's easy to choose the wrong Medicare plan, and unfortunately, Medicare mistakes can cost you thousands of dollars. That's why we partner with Chapter. When you need to choose a Medicare plan, call them. They're the only national advisor that compares and recommends every Medicare plan across Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage, and Part D. And they've helped people save over $1,100 on healthcare costs. In fact, they've helped hundreds of you in the MeidasTouch community save thousands and get better coverage. These guys won't push you to buy a plan you don't want to, and their support is completely free. So if you're on Medicare or will be soon, call them at 82 Medicare. They'll help you understand enrollment options and find ways to save on your healthcare. Again, call them at 82 Medicare. Next, a reporter asked Karoline Leavitt, I'm a bit confused, the reporter says. Donald Trump said that there were productive conversations with Governor Walz of Minnesota, and Governor Walz said that there was productive conversations. So your tone seems to be pretty different than Donald Trump's. What tone should we believe? Watch what she says here. Play this clip.
With respect to the call with Governor Walz this morning, the president described it as respectful. He said we seem to be on a similar wavelength, but you had strong criticism for the governor and the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, just now. So could you explain the difference in tone between what the president had said in his True Social post and I think some of the criticisms that you just levied through the podium?
Fran, I think the criticisms that I laid out, I'm painting the picture for all of you in this room, are what led to the moment that we are in today, where Governor Walz and President Trump are having a conversation, a constructive and productive conversation to end the chaos and the lawlessness that has taken place in Governor Walz's state.
And again, the tone is that this is an authoritarian regime that will continue to attack Americans, that will continue to use ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo to terrorize and kill. And then when they kill someone for their First Amendment rights, their Second Amendment rights, they will then defame you and call you a domestic terrorist. Next, a reporter says to Karoline Leavitt, the Department of Homeland Security posted that it looks like they wanted to do maximum damage and called them a terrorism. Why did the administration jump to conclusions without actually knowing the facts? Watch what Karoline Leavitt says. Here, play this clip.
Justice on that. Thank you, Caroline. Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Pretti looks like he wanted to do maximum damage to massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Pretti a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
Next, a reporter says, so is the White House's position that Americans have the right to show up to these operations, to film and document, or do you get killed if you show up to a protest? Play this clip.
Fran.
Caroline, is it the White House's position that Americans have the right to show up to these ICE operations and film, document, or protest the law enforcement actions?
All Americans have a First Amendment constitutional right, of course, but Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede and obstruct lawful immigration enforcement operations. That is actually a crime, and it's something that we've seen taking place in the streets of Minneapolis, which again is leading to these dangerous circumstances that these federal law enforcement officers have been forced to work within.
Next, a reporter asks if Greg Bavino will remain in Minnesota. Let's play this clip right here.
Elena.
Thank you. I had a question. With Homan now going to Minnesota, is Gregory Bavino also going to remain in Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man, and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
Karoline Leavitt then says that Donald Trump just wants the resistance to end in Minnesota. Play this clip.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's
another reporter asks Karoline Leavitt. So Kristi Noem said that Pretti committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller called him an assassin. Does the president agree with this? Here, play this clip.
Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Pretti committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Pretti a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Pretti in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
And then Karoline Leavitt lies and says that there's huge approval ratings for ICE and Border Patrol invading cities. Let's play this clip.
Aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position from the biased media coverage over the course of the last few days. But polling shows huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes. A country unable to deport criminals who enter it illegally is no country at all.
You know, and she tried to be like, there's huge approval for ICE going after criminals and rapists. That's not what ICE and Border Patrol are doing. You have the worst people in this country killing the best people in this country. The Renee Nicole Goods, the Alex Prettis, the peaceful protesters. What ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo are doing is they are attacking people with no criminal records. They are rounding people up for existing, whether you're an American citizen, whether you have black or brown skin, whether you're out there peacefully protesting, people who have been living in this country for many, many years. They went after 5-year-olds and 2-year-olds and they use them as bait for their parents. That's what they're doing. And that's why Donald Trump's net approval on immigration is like -35. His immigration approval is so underwater right now, and Americans are livid at this. And what Karoline Levin's doing there is just adding more fuel to the fire. So yes, a little bit ago, Governor Walz said, I had a productive call with Trump earlier today. I told him we need an impartial investigation of the Minneapolis shootings involving federal agents and that we need to reduce the number of federal agents in Minnesota. The president agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and to talk to DHS about ensuring the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is able to conduct an independent investigation as would ordinarily be the case. And then Trump posted, Governor Tim Walz called me with a request to work together. It was a good call, and we actually seem to be on similar wavelengths. I told him that I would have Tom Homan call him. I mean, here's the thing. Donald Trump's words are meaningless. Meaningless. When Donald Trump says he's going to do something, he's someone who violated contracts his whole life. His words mean nothing. His conduct is that of an authoritarian, a wannabe Putin, and I think we just need to call it out for what it is. There you have it. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.